accidentally skyward, with feet planted on the ground. But his mind drifts away for the cosmos to be found.
Accidentally Skyward, Spacesuit Book 1, by Rod McKay. Chapter 1, The Day Before the End of the World. Accidentally Skyward had precisely 3 problems. Quimly, running very on time for work, everything else about his life, Quimly again, and possibly arithmetic.
Put your back into it.
The trudgeworthy 5 barked from where it hovered just ahead.
My back?
Accidentally gasped.
Into running? I'm not even sure how to put my arms and legs into it. Slow down, Quimly!
Quimly cannot help Master Skyward,
said the fluffy creature, grinning out through the open hovercar window.
Quimly is too busy being a hovercar at the moment. Vroom!
Accidentally scowled at Quimly, who beamed back fluffily.
Then how about acting like a darn hovercar and letting me in?
Accidentally slowed to a walk and shoved his fists into the pockets of his dark puce overalls.
Pentomosaic won't accept my Quarf was being a jerk as an excuse for me being so terribly on time again.
Really, Master Skyward?
Quimly asked, eyes glinting.
What will Pentomosaic accept my Quarf was being a jerk as an excuse for?
Accidentally hissed something non-specific through clenched teeth.
But Quimly does not have that level of spinal flexibility.
What? No. I meant that figuratively. How could you hear that anyway? I hissed it non-specifically.
Accidentally dodged around a row of public thinker-linker booths lining the street, their green-tinted sanitizing lights flickering erratically above a queue of people and peeply things, waiting for their turn at the communal nose inserts. He ducked sideways, then turkeyed forward, as 2 maintenance hover kittens zipped past, their tiny Optipulp mega blasters leaving scorch marks on the scarred pavement as they chased down an unauthorized hover advertisement. Quimly slowed the trudgeworthy 5 to a stop just ahead, flinging all the doors open with the car equivalent of zeal.
I am not falling for this again,
accidentally muttered, slowing to a walk just out of reach of an open door. And yet, he dived for the door. The trudgeworthy 5 jerked just out of Accidentally's reach. Accidentally reached out just like a jerk before slowing down again. The trudgeworthy 5 slowed down again too.
I'm not doing this anymore, you floody Quarf,
accidentally grumbled. Quimly was typical of the Quarfs accidentally had, unfortunately, known. Waist-high, fluffy, particularly annoying, with a disturbing habit of turning his face upside down. Almost as disturbingly, Quimly could access every think about anything just by thinking thinks through the pulsing green thinker-linker-linker shoved deeply up his nose. Not that Quimly having a thinker-linker-linker shoved deeply up his nose was unusual in Smoggington in 2334. Everyone and their Quarf had a thinker-linker-linker shoved deeply up their nose, enabling them to access the universe's collective knowledge and control anything fitted with a thinker-linker flume field, which included pretty much everything, pretty much everywhere, pretty much all of the time. Unfortunately, Accidentally could not personally think onto Thinker-Linker because of his severe galactophobia, a crippling fear of space that had plagued him since his early childhood. Merely thinking about space made Accidentally fall down and gurgle fairly alarmingly in the back of his throat, and Thinker-Linker was pretty much full of the stuff.
Do you hear something strange?
Accidentally asked, hearing something strange. A distant, echoing thump. Thump. Thump.
It would be strange not to hear something strange in Smoggington. Strange, Master Skyward,
Quimly said, holding his hands questioningly out the open hovercar window.
If I could shove a Thinker-Linker-Linker deeply up my nose without going mad,
Accidentally grumbled,
then I could find out about that strange sound, and then I could drive my own darn hovercar away from it, and then I could drive away from Smoggington, and just keep on driving, never ever worrying about being very on time for work ever again.
But Master Skyward does not need to have a Thinker-Linker-Linker shoved deeply up Master Skyward's nose, because Quimly has a Thinker-Linker-Linker shoved deeply up Quimly's nose, so Quimly can always be Master Skyward's Thinker-Linker-Linker-Linker.
Precisely, Quimly. You being my Thinker-Linker-Linker-Linker is why things always work out. About as well as things have worked out so far this morning.
Precisely, Master Skyward.
Quimly grinned. Accidentally didn't.
Honestly, Quimly, I don't know why my parents didn't just flush you down the toilet like all the other quarfs they evolved from potato peelings and earwax in our home evolution kit.
Accidentally sketched up a small cloud of ashen dust, turning the toe of his dark puce boots a slightly more contemporary drab grey.
Some days, Quimly, I really do think I'd be better off with my own thinker-linker-linker shoved up my own nose, despite my own crippling galactophobia.
Some days, Quimly.
Quimly mimicked, waggling his fluffy head from side to side. Accidentally reached into his breast pocket and took out the worn reelograph he kept there. A nervous habit whenever his frustration with Quimly peaked. Hence, it being exceptionally worn indeed. His breathing began to steady as the trudgeworthy five hovered past a local park, equally describable as two synthetic trees plonked in the sludge around a puddle of questionable origin. Despite the dismal scene, Accidentally's chest warmed at the sight of three children playing with toy hovercars. Their levitating vehicles responding in a limited way to their manual intervention because the children were too young for thinker-linker-linkers. Accidentally could very much relate.
No, let me refresh that.
Accidentally grumbled afresh at Quimly, where Quimly still hovered just ahead in the trudgeworthy five. He kicked up a pile of ashen dust afresh too.
Some days I wish they'd turn thinker-linker off entirely, so I could just get on with my life.
What life might that be, Master Skyward?
I'm 27. Stop calling me Master. Skyward.
What makes Master Skyward think Quimly does not mean master in the other sense? My overlord, my liege, my royal hobgoblin.
Everything you do and say.
Even this?
Quimly turned his face upside down and waggled his tongue.
Yes, that's precisely the sort of thing. Now let me into the flapping car.
Of course, Master Skyward. As Master Skyward's thinker-linker-linker-linker, Quimly's sworn duty is to fulfill all Master Skyward's most pressing needs.
Yes, provided I have a most pressing need for a pain in my neck.
Accidentally tilted his head back and massaged his neck and saw personal delivery drones buzzing overhead in intricate patterns, dropping packages with varying accuracy into apartment receipt holes, their undersides glowing with thinker-linker delivery codes. Panic buying in May? Accidentally shook his head. What did everyone on Thinker-Linker know that he didn't? Accidentally slowed again. This time nothing to do with Quimly. The distant thumping sound had transformed into an unmistakable doom, doom, doom that seemed to emanate from everywhere all at once. Planets didn't say doom, did they? Planets didn't say anything at all. He was pretty sure. Not even, hey, look at me, I'm a planet. Or, how about not suffocating me to death with that souped-up smog machine of yours for a nice change? Or any other things like that planets were more likely to say, if sentences with that in them were allowed, which Accidentally was pretty sure they weren't. Though it was on his ever-growing list of things he couldn't readily deduce, so there was that. The familiar tightness that preceded a galactophobia episode gripped him. He lowered his gaze to the ashen dust at his feet, trying to see patterns there. A coping technique his therapist, Miss Speckledick, had tried to teach him before declaring his case fascinatingly hopeless. Suddenly the sky was much darker. Passers-by began looking upward, their expression shifting from thinker-linker-induced indifference to darkening sky-induced second-guessing their thinker-linker feeds. Accidentally looked up in turn and saw perhaps the last thing he ever wanted to see. An angular star blaster with an ominous weapons array, descending through the smog-choked sky. Smoggington's long-standing indifference shattered. People and peoply things froze in place. Conversations died mid-sentence. Someone nearby said,
"This isn't a scheduled, unregistered extraterrestrial incursion."
Accidentally somehow felt a flash of recognition. For half a moment, he knew this ship, where it had come from, why it was here. The feeling was so intense, it felt almost like a true memory. But that was impossible. He'd never been off planet. He'd never even been off ground unless jumping at shadows counted. The faux memory faded the moment he reached into his breast pocket and took out the worn relograph. He meditated on the image. Him as a boy, tasseled blonde hair and a carefree smile, on a shore he didn't recognize, staring up in wonder at a shadowed sky. It was a past that felt like a recurring dream, one his parents refused to discuss. The closest they'd come was when his mother had once grimaced at the relograph and said,
Some people and peoply things are named for what their parents know they are. You were named for what the universe hopes you'll become.
He'd asked what she'd meant, but she'd only smiled sadly and added,
Did you put on clean underwear this morning? We've been having some issues with the scrubber crotch. Only your father's underpants have been coming out even dirtier. If you can even imagine that.
accidentally had tried not to. Not being on Thinker-Linker, touching that tatty old relograph, a ritual as automatic as breathing whenever his anxiety spiked, was as close as accidentally ever came to connecting with the eternal mysteries of the universe. A word surfaced in his mind unbidden. Heck, a childish swear? No, it felt like more than that. The word faded just as quickly, replaced by the familiar panic gripping him like molecule tight. A public alert system, unused for decades, crackled to life with an ominous whine.
Attention, attention.
It began brightly.
No, really, listen up, you lot. Particularly you at the back. I have something important to tell you about space.
Space. Oh, Jesus 9.
Accidentally moaned as his crippling galactophobia kicked in. He fell in a slumping purple crumple atop the ashen dust, gurgling alarmingly in the back of his throat. Just as he found himself thinking that things couldn't possibly get any worse, he saw something that was unquestionably any worse. He marked the occasion by making one final alarming gurgling sound before, pretty comprehensively, passing out.